Hey up me ducks, how are we doing? Apologies for the late start. Let me just get the comments on. I look a very halo-y kind of soft focus, don't I? It's like this is the start of a 70s porn movie or something. Don't know if I can make it any brighter. You might have noticed as well, space. I'm all upside down, completely upside down. I'll explain all that in a moment, but let's do some hellos first. So it's lovely to see everybody. We've got Patrice as the first one in. Hello, lovely Patrice. We've got Inked Witchy Girl. We've got Alessandra. We've got Joe behind the veil. Ellie, Taradiva Ellie. We've got Jenna. Hello, Jenna. Emmy the Grey. Ange. And we have Kim, the lovely Kim. And we have Orshi. Hello, Orshi. And Marianne. Sheila. That's me just saying about being late. We've got Pamela. And Forever Whereafter. We have Jen, hello. How am I not late? Well, I was late, so that means you're not late because you was in before me. And Hillary and Claire. Any new decks? Yes, got one to show today. Blurry. Is it blurry or is it just kind of, I don't know. I think it's because it's evening. See, if I'd stuck with the original time of 4 p.m, it wouldn't have been as bad because it's now light at 4 p.m. Give it a wipe. Do you think that's what it is, El? Oh, and while I'm giving it a wipe, can I just say as well, happy birthday, Dee Dee. Dear daughter, our Elle, it's their birthday today. So can we give a happy birthday to the apple of my eye, our Dee Dee. The Dee Dee is just an affectionate way of saying dear daughter. I'll give it a wipe. Don't think it will make any difference. I think it's just the lighting, really. See, because I've taken my desk apart, I don't have this as well. Although it just clamps on. So maybe if I just bear with, give it a clamp. Let's see if that works. I need to plug it in. Okay. There we go. See if that makes any difference. How's that? Oh, it's a bit bright though. But it does make things look a little bit clearer. So where was we up to? We've got Brian and Sharon, Marina, and Stephen. Hello, Stephen. Oops, I'm ping-ponging. Tammy Pie. Hello, Diane. Nancy, Kaz. I think I've caught up anyway, but does that look better? We've got Tortoise Shell Moon. Hi, Sam. I'd love to see you. My first Cuppa and catch up live from Kathy. Well, nice to see you, Kathy. Yeah, I think I'm a little bit clearer. I'm ping-ponging for some reason. I put Do Not Disturb on, but clearly it doesn't make any difference. So might be because I've got Facebook open on another window. That should do it. Thank you so much, everyone, says Elle. Yeah, hope you're having a lovely birthday. So tomorrow, although everything's going a bit Pete Tong, and this is why I was late going live, tomorrow I'm having a new desk. And I have to collect it tomorrow. So I woke up this morning, I thought, right, I'm going to declutter my desk, clear my desk so I can make space. And I thought, I've got a live tonight though. Well, I'll just leave the desk and then tonight I can remove it, ready for the new one coming in. This is what my desk looked like this morning when I walked into the room. I mean, look at that. And the friend that was helping me tomorrow, I sent a picture and said, oh, I've got to tackle this before. And he said, Simon, you've got a problem. You really have got a problem. You're becoming a hoarder. And then I thought about it. I thought, I've got a lot of stuff and it is getting out of hand. But a lot of the stuff that was on that desk are things that little trinklements and things that people have sent me. And it always means a lot. Bit busy, says Tammy Pie, bit busy. But it always means a lot. And I kind of put them on the shelves or on the desk around me. But this isn't the biggest desk anyway. It's quite narrow. And the length is only about 4 feet. So it's quite cluttered. And I feel really hemmed in. So I'm having a bigger desk, then I can put more stuff on it. Just because I want to feel less sort of hemmed in. So, of course, it's all had to go somewhere. So it's all gone onto my sofa, which looks like this at the moment, ready for the new desk going in. But not all of that is going to go back on. What I'm going to have to do is just be more selective about what I put back on the desk. So not an easy task. That's not hoarding. Trinklements, now that's a word. Yeah, I mean, I don't hoard things like, I don't, keep piles of newspapers or things that you would term as, what's the word I'm looking for? Not rubbish, but things that you would normally just dispose of after use. Everything that I've got is attached to a memory or, linked to, it's got sentimental reasons and purposes behind it. Tax time, stacks of papers and receipts. Thank goodness. If you're in employment over here, you don't have to worry about that. It's done for you. Only the self-employed have to worry about tax returns. I need a dedicated tarot reading desk. Nowhere to put it though. I know. And I'm limited on space. Although I am fortunate enough that my living room is quite spacious. But I've got 2 sacred spaces in my living room. I've got my Buddhist shrine and I've got my pagan altar. But hey, it's just what it is. So yeah, so that's tomorrow's job. So 10 to 7, so just less than half an hour ago, the person that is helping me with a van, because again, I live on the 19th story and we've got to get a desk up here and get the old one down to the basement for disposal. I put do not disturb on and I'm pinging. That's the problem when you've got 1 iPhone and 2 iPads as well as using a MacBook. I didn't put do not disturb on everything, just my phone, but I thought that would stop the others pinging. Anyway, I digress. The person who was helping me messaged and said, I've just tested positive for COVID. Oh my goodness. I've just taken everything apart and put it on the sofa. And we could be looking at 10 days' time now before we can do anything about it. So I had to quickly ring my stepdad to see if he was free tomorrow. And he is until about midday. So he's going to help now. So yeah, it's been one of those days. But it's lovely to be here. This is my first Cuppa catch-up and cards of the year as well, because I did do a catching up with the lovely Deanne at the beginning of January, but that was a catching up with series. So this is the first kind of Cuppa catch up in cards. So it's nice to be back. It's nice to be with you all. And it's lovely to see almost 100 people here as well. So thank you for coming. I love that. Thank you for coming. It's like what my gran used to say every time I used to go around and see you. Thank you for coming. I'm just seeing if I've missed any comments. If you do want to catch my attention, just remember capital letters usually works for me, or tag me. But the only way a tag works is if it's the Hermit's Cave exactly as it appears with the apostrophe S and everything like that. Everybody's saying it's better anyway with this this light and everything. So hopefully we've cracked it. It's as good as it's going to get for an evening broadcast. I need to make sure I've got that chat open as well, because I can see the chat there too. See, even my watch is pinging now. Oh, I'll read it after. This stuff going on. Anyway, before I show you a deck, oh, Billy's here. Hiya. I remembered that saying. I was always taught to say, thanks for having me at the end of the visits too. That's right. Yes. That's, I was raised the same way. So if you went anywhere, whether it was for dinner, someone invited you for dinner or for tea, or you're visiting relatives and they were said, thank you for coming. You say, no, thank you for having us, or thank you for having me. Yeah, you're right. I remember that too. Kristen's driving at the moment. Drive carefully. I hope you're okay, Kristen. So before I show a deck, I wanted to have a bit of a chat, because just again in the last hour, I think this is, I saw that Kim from Abundant Life Tarot, and that makes me laugh because I always say tarot, and some people in America, I hear them pronounce it tarot, and I really like it. It's got a ring, tarot. And Kim always pronounces her channel Abundant Life Tarot. So because that's what her channel's called, even though I don't say tarot, I do when I'm saying the name of her channel. Excuse me, let me have a sip of coffee. But Kim posted a video probably about an hour ago now. So I watched the most part of it, then I had to get ready and all these calls started to come. But it was a VR in response to Our Moon 513, Racine, whose video I haven't watched yet, but she put it out yesterday. And it was a kind of a conversation around psychic abilities, and particularly when reading cards. As I say, I've not seen the original, I've just seen Kim's. Psychic abilities, particularly around reading cards, and whether you have to be born with psychic abilities, or whether those psychic abilities can be learned or developed. And I find that quite interesting, because in my early 30s, I joined a development circle and I had some success with that. Particularly, that's where I found out I was really good with psychometry. So psychometry is where you hold something that's imbued with energy. So it might be someone's keys, or a pendant, or a watch, or a ring, or something like that. And you don't overthink it. You just hold it in your hand, and you just start to describe any of the images that come into your mind. And it was quite fascinating. And I don't class myself as somebody who is psychic, but I don't poo-hoo it either. You know, I think there are psychics out there. I don't think everybody who claims to be psychic is psychic, because in all walks of life, they're going to be good people and less honest people, let's put it that way. But I do believe that people can be psychic. And I believe that some people are born psychic, but I also believe some people could have psychic abilities and not really have honed them in or developed them. So I guess the first question I wanted to kind of pose and for us to chat about is whether we believe that, well, I suppose the first question is whether we believe people have psychic abilities. And is there a difference between psychic abilities and intuition? Because we often hear, don't we, people saying, well, I read cards intuitively. or a lot of my intuition comes through when I'm reading for other people. So what is the difference between psychic abilities and intuition? Or isn't there? Is it just another way of describing that? Sandra says, I do believe that people can be psychic. It's a muscle for sure, says Ange. What do you mean by a muscle? Do you mean like the brain part of it? Let's see if there's any. I would say I am psychic, and I've been told so many times. So, Sandra, would you say that you're psychic because you've been told many times, or do you just feel that you have that ability? Fluffy Bunny says, my psychic abilities are that of a potato. Again, but would you class yourself, Fluffy Bunny, as somebody who is intuitive? Behind the Veil says, I'm watching a series on Netflix, which includes some episodes on mediums. Oh, what's it called? I like a good series on Netflix. Beth says, I think being psychic is like dancing. Some are more naturally gifted, but we can all learn. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You know, and I think sometimes it's just about fine tuning, isn't it? Otherwise it can be quite a daunting thing. And again, you know, there are people, and it depends on who. Society tends to have, and I don't know about in countries where perhaps you are listening to this, but over here, you know, there is a fine line between somebody who says that they hear voices and are classed as mediums, and somebody who says that they hear voices and therefore, you know, are receiving medication and things. And, you know, I don't really want to go into that rabbit hole, but I often worry that somebody who could be psychic in terms of mediumship or hearing voices could be looked on by some people that they, you know, have, you know, psychosis. So I can understand also why some people don't tell others that they hear voices, you know, because they don't want to be judged in that way. Or so it can be worrying for people as well. Pamela says, years and years ago, I took a class called Silver Mind Control that teaches a self-hypnosis process that you can develop intuition and many uses. That's interesting. Silver Mind Control. My nan used to say all women in our family are psychic. Sonia says, yes, I agree that the assessment about psychic abilities, and I think that intuition is on the spectrum. So you think that they're not the same thing, but they're on a spectrum of abilities of sort of extrasensory kind of spectrum. Billy says, file me under highly sensitive person, empath, and I do feel the energy of others. Mine really woke up having Reiki, where I astral traveled. I read intuitively. Sharon says, I'm open to the idea of psychic abilities. I've had a few experiences myself that I knew things that were not even intuitively knowable. I do believe people are psychic, particularly Pisces rising or Aquarius rising. Intuition, yes, we all have intuition. That's interesting. That's quite a bold statement. We all have intuition. I agree. Even if it's sometimes just that little, what's often referred to as the still small voice, you know, and you say, oh, I wish I'd paid attention because it just didn't feel right. And I still went ahead and did it. So sometimes, or sixth sense, it's often called as well, isn't it? I never sought any of it out in my life. Messed me up for a long time. Hi, Sean. Nice to see you. And Nancy, did I say hello to you, Nancy, as well? I think intuition and psychic are different. Wow. Sandra says, no, I feel I have the ability and have done from childhood. I always described it as a good sixth sense. Yeah, it's interesting how we have different terminology for it, different references into it. Sixth sense, intuition, gut feeling, or, psychic abilities. I think it's called surviving death. Fluffy Bunny, I'm more empath and I trust my gut. May's been reading a book called Psychic Witch. Lots of good activities and exercises in that. Tammy Pie says, I say we're all a little psychic. You just have to exercise the muscle. I feel like intuition is like a gut feeling. A psychic is like a mind feeling, like spirits talking. Yeah, you see, but then where is the line between psychic and mediumship? Because for me, psychic, I've always kind of thought of psychic of having sort of like premonitions or sensing things and knowing about things that haven't happened yet. Whereas mediumship is, actually communication with spirit. A spectrum of psychic abilities. I don't know how far back I am in the chat now. Quite a way looking at this. I might have to just look for tags or capitals. I've been places where I knew that someone has killed themselves and found out later that was true. That must be traumatic. I get tickle, tingles, and nudges psychicness. My poems feel like they are channeled. That's interesting. Sheila's clairaudient. You see, I was told when I did this development circle back in, 2001, 2002, it's where I actually discovered soul cards at this psychic circle, that I was a natural clairsentient. And I hadn't even heard of that. I'd heard of clairvoyance and clairaudience, but I hadn't heard of clairsentience. But that makes sense because that's where you pick up on energies. But that makes sense as to why I responded really well with psychometry. And Billy says, I have an experience of holding an object and then saw a scene. It was a wood item from Etsy. When I asked the seller, I had described where the tree had grown. When I asked seller, I had described where the tree had grown that it had been made from. Patrice says, I have some psychic abilities. They appear more like moments of strong intuition. I'm learning to lean into it and trust it more. Yeah, so I think what was said earlier about that spectrum, it seems that, and it's natural that we would all find each other, isn't it? And come together in this way. And sometimes we don't even label ourselves as psychic or empathic or intuitive. Some people just say, I feel that I'm a spiritual person, and that can encompass all that as well. Fluffy says, Simon, I guess it depends on what the voices tell you. Negativity is not spirit. I get that, but then I've also been around people in my past where anything to do with psychic abilities or mediumship, they would say it's of the devil. And please know that I don't hold that view myself. I don't. But there are people among us, and we have to be mindful of that, where having discussions like this and talking about voices and everything else, I remember clearly in a Sunday school class somebody saying that that anything that was other than the voice of the Savior was the voice of the devil, and the devil would have many disguises to pull you away from the truth. And they were really as a church, they were really down on the spiritualist church, because they used to say that that's not how the Lord would communicate, you know. And as I say, I don't buy into that, but, you know, when I saw that negativity is not of the spirit, there are people that walk this earth that would disagree, sadly. A friend of mine teaches psychic abilities, Carla Myra, and has helped many people with that skill. So it is teachable. I think we have more connection to these abilities when we are young. Yes, the majority of my unexplained occurrences were as a child, and I've shared that a few times. I even was interviewed about it on Amber's channel. And, you know, whilst things have happened later in life, it's very few and far between compared to my first 6-7 years of life. Sad that people fear the abilities of a psychic. It is, but people fear the unknown as well, and something that they can't rationalize. Good to know, Simon, because I'm both empath and medium, says Violet. When I was a teenager, I smelt the presence of a family member who had passed. I had objects appear that I believe were left for me by people who've passed, but not sure anything else. Hold that, though. Really do hold on to that, because I do believe that if people are going to communicate, it will be through the senses, you know, and smells in particular is one that a lot of mediums will talk about, you know, is that you recognize the smell that's distinctively them, because we've all got our own distinctive smell, haven't we? And it's not necessarily a perfume or a fragrance people would wear, but, you know, we've got pheromones, and you only have to pick up someone's clothing and smell their clothing and know exactly who it belongs to. So smell is a good indicator. I have had experience of spirit voices, but not in my head. Oh. Bye, Isabel. I describe it. The actions leave an impression on the environment. Yeah. Oh, Claire's had a new deck arrived. Okay, so the next part that I kind of wanted us to talk about is, well, we've gone into psychic abilities. Can you be born with them? Can they be taught, i.e., and then also learnt or developed? And is intuition the same as being psychic? And I think the kind of the common response is that no, but it is on a spectrum with it. So thinking about tarot, or oracle, or any sort of cartomancy, I suppose, can you read tarot purely on intuition, or even using psychic ability? Therefore, is there any need to learn about the tarot system itself, what the archetypes represent, etc., etc.? Can they be read purely intuitively? What are your thoughts? And I don't necessarily think there's any right or wrong answer here. It's just interesting to get some conversation going and see what people think. So Violet has come straight in with yes. So Violet feels that you can read tarot purely on intuition. I get a feeling with tarot. So are you happy to expand on that, Susie? Do you, when you say you get a feeling with tarot, does that override any sort of learnt knowledge about the system? I use it both ways. This is Sheila, Simon. I say yes to the system. I think it's important. Once you learn the system, then off to the intuitive interpretation. So you think having the knowledge of the system first as that sort of grounding part, that sort of foundation, and that's then underpinned when you then bring in intuitive hits that you're getting on top of that. Joe says, personally, I think it's important to know the underlying meanings of the card as a foundation, just what I was saying, which you can build on with your intuition. And that's how I would probably go. If you're not following tarot at all, is it still tarot or is it something else? Well, that's my next question. Because my next question, but I don't want to kind of gloss over this one yet, is can a tarot card then have two completely different meanings? And I'll explain why I'm asking that in a moment. Horses for courses, I've witnessed people deliver accurate readings each way. I read my tarot cards using its particular system. My intuition plays a smaller role with tarot. Sharon agrees with knowing the system first. Susie says, yes, Simon, it overrides it. I see the image and I go with the feeling, not always the meaning. That's interesting. I wouldn't recommend not learning the system, says Danielle. Violet says, I do it all the time. I read purely off intuition, but I also learn the RWS system beforehand. So I incorporate that if I feel the need in my readings. I unintentionally mimic other people's energy. Same with heavy movies. I am that movie for days. Laurie, I completely get that. I completely get that. They leave certain movies, and not necessarily movies, even programs on TV, will have such an impact on me that stays with me for days, and I'm constantly thinking about it, but I've got the energy of it as well, if that makes sense. Hi, Candy. How are you? Nice to see you. We're just having a chat about psychic abilities and intuition, and whether psychic abilities, you're born with them or you can be taught them and therefore learn them or develop them. And then we talked about whether intuition was the same as psychic abilities. And we kind of said we felt it was on a spectrum. And now we're talking about tarot and whether, you know, tarot can be purely read intuitively. I hope I brought you up to speed. Cards can be purely intuitive, but more information can come through if you know the details of the cards and system. Focusing on the only traditional meanings can block intuition. Wow. I believe people can just read intuitively, but for me, the conversation with tarot goes much deeper when I learn and read the whole picture. I've only just realized as well that I'm in StreamYard. I could be putting these comments up on the screen rather than just reading them out. I'm so far behind now that that's a waste of time. Beth said, yes, any deck can be read entirely intuitively, but I believe in addition to this, one's approach is having the swords aspect of learning the foundation. I like what you did there. So talking about the wands, the energy of the wands as opposed to the mind and intellect. And everything's balanced, right? Jen says, I think the cards have lots of meanings depending on question contents and how they read. Claire says, one should honestly know the system first if you're reading tarot. So I will share my experience. So the last time I had a professional tarot reading where I paid money for that service, the person laid down the cards and I got to choose. There was a few decks and I chose an RWS. And they laid down the cards and I got a reading, which was recorded and burnt onto a CD. But as they was giving me the reading, it wasn't from any sort of knowledge of tarot, if that makes sense. I saw these images and what I was being told did not correlate to my kind of knowledge of what those cards represent. And at first I was kind of irked. I was like, that's not what the Four of Pentacles means. But I just went with it. And this person was a psychic medium. That was on their banner. And it wasn't until a few months after, and this CD was in the glove compartment of my car, and I popped it on. I thought, let's have a listen to this. That I was kind of like, oh my goodness. Yes, that did happen. Oh, and now I know what she meant about that. So that was a reading purely based on either intuition or, well, one of three things: either intuition, psychic abilities, or mediumship. But at the time, I think I was so focusing on that's not what those cards mean that I didn't digest what was being said. But the good thing about having it burnt onto a CD, as I say, I was able to listen to it a bit later. I agree with someone I heard recently that reading intuitively, you have to be careful not to be mirroring your own shit onto the reading, says Sharon. That's interesting. Yeah, bringing your own stuff. Geraldine, Simon, I think interpreting tarot is like cooking. Everyone knows how to make pancakes. I don't. But most will use different ingredients, timings, pans. The result is still the perfect pancake for you. I knew a reader who stated the cards held her up. The cards held her up, Claire. This is a very interesting question. As an art therapist, I believe the basic meanings. We are complicated beings, and two meanings at once can be useful. Yeah. I mean, something like the RWS anyway, that has a scene depicted, gives you a good hit, even without knowledge. I think I can remember back in the day, because initially, as you all know, I started with a Marseille deck. And I couldn't read the pips at all. But I remember when I got an RWS deck for the first time, the scenes were enough that I could look at them and think, oh, it's almost like telling a story. And that's something we're all good at because, as children, when you think about the books that have lessons and morals and everything in them, as we're learning to read the actual written word, a lot of us are looking at the pictures and we're seeing a scene depicted anyway before we've learned the words. And then when you learn the words, the picture is there really to assist you with that. So why won't it be different now? We lay down tarot cards and we've got scenes, and if you lay them together in a spread, there's a storyboard there, isn't there? So I guess we go back to what we said earlier about having the knowledge that somebody else has once given us back in the eons of time is good because it helps us that foundation. But I guess our intuition is key. I wouldn't want to give a reading purely on, this card means this. Because why come to somebody for a reading? Somebody can just go and get the Tarot Bible from the works for £5, get that for themselves. The querent is bringing something to you and you're looking at the cards. And yes, you've got your underpinning knowledge, but imparting your wisdom and your intuition is key. Tortoise Shell Moon says, for me, intuition is important, but not necessarily psychic ability, though. Understanding the system is important for me. It enhances my intuition. Yeah. Interesting. The last tarot reading I had was with Lisa de Saint Croix, and she used her deck, which she obviously knows inside and out, artistically and academically. Tarot Sinquar is one that is still on my list. Yes, then it is their raw abilities by the book. They are not reading tarot, in my opinion. Yeah, and I respect your opinion. I don't think it's as black and white as that, though. For me, I would never say, you're not reading tarot there. They're not reading tarot in the same way as I would read tarot, but it's not for me to say to anybody who's just looking at the images and imparting their intuition, you're not reading tarot. Otherwise, it's a tool for them, and lots of psychics or mediums will use a tool, to help get that message out. Nicole says, I had a reading from John Stark years ago. So much he predicted happened. Also had a playing card reading from a local lady way back, and she definitely saw my future. That's interesting. Claire says, held her up meant the cards blocked her natural abilities to read people. Sharon says, yes, I agree. The ability to form the story is important. I'm just looking for tags now. Intuition is key. That's what molds the reading to the querent. Otherwise, it's rote, I think. Also, if you layer other things in the story shifts. Meditation changes the story. Charms change the story. It's layered for me. Yeah, so bringing in lots of different kind of disciplines and tools to help you adds on those other layers, Candy, to give you a more deeper and rich reading experience. Whispers of 3, I think as long as a reader has an understanding of the suits at least. Yes. That's most important, yeah. When we finally trust ourselves to go beyond the basic meanings of the cards is when the true meaning of a reading emerges. Yeah. And I suppose I should say as well that I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with either. I think if somebody is by the book, that's fine, using the knowledge only that they've learnt with a reading can still give you a pretty good, foundation in terms of, it depends what you're reading for. But if somebody's picking up for the first time a deck and they've got a little book with them to help them, and they're looking at what those meanings are and applying that to their life, I think that's great. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. In the same way that I don't think there's anything wrong either with somebody, not bothering with a book and looking at the images and, seeing perfect example. I mentioned them earlier, soul cards. Soul cards do not come with a book. They don't come with any numbers on them, and they don't come with any keywords. They are purely images. And I've done some amazing readings with soul cards. I mentioned them earlier because I talked about the development circle. It's 20 years ago that I first picked up soul cards, and I just took to them straight away. And I remember when I first, because the person who was doing the development circle, Miriam Gifford, she was called. Oh, she still is. There was a load of decks on the table, and she just said, go and grab a deck. We're going to do some work with cards. And I went straight for them, and she said, oh, I think they might be a little bit too advanced for you at this stage. And I was like, I'm really drawn to them. She said, well, if you're really drawn to them, give them a go. And I had to after that evening, I had to go and buy a set because I just connected with them straight away. And that's purely intuition, using your own intuition and what you see in the images. Jen says, I find my reading style changes depending on how much time I am able to devote to the reading. Sometimes my daily reading is more based on core meanings if I'm in a rush. Yeah, I get that too. Yeah, because I find that I have much more time in the evenings to do a reflection than I do in the mornings to do my intention, because in the mornings I am clock watching. I've got to be at work, or I've still got to iron a shirt. You know, I need to have my cereal, blah, 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 blah. So I will do that. Core meaning, right, this, yes. I'll keep that in mind for today. Leave them out. And then when I come home, I have more time to digest. And again, that's always the case there, I suppose, when you're reflecting back, because you've got the added bonus of having that space between your reading in the morning and whether they played out or not, or how, not whether or not, but how they played out. But yes, I totally get that. But when you can sit down like today on a weekend with a nice cup of coffee and not have to worry about the clock and just lay your cards out, you can really take time, can't you? Sheila says, I've only been reading for others for over a year, so I'm still learning in that department, and you'll always will be learning. Magda says, I've been sent tiny thumbnails of tarot spreads that someone had had a reading from, and they didn't not understand what the reader was talking about. So somebody had asked you for an interpretation because they struggled to understand it. Jen says, but when I have more time to sit and allow my mind to expand, I can get much deeper and have more profound readings. Totally agree. Sonia, connecting the cards into a story is where the magic starts, whether they read by the book or improvise with intuition. Someone saying hi to Robin. I didn't see. Oh, there he is. Hello, everybody. Hi, Robin. Nice to see you. Okay, let me scroll down a bit because I'm going to end up being behind. I don't always have time to journal the daily reading. Me and journaling, we've got such an on-off relationship because we start off at every time of the year, don't we? This time of year, like I'm gonna be better at journaling this year, and usually get to this time of the year, mid-February, and it's but I've not even, with everything that's been going on, I've done practically zero journaling so far this year. Andrew says, I love this conversation. It's refreshing when people don't gatekeep when it comes to chatting about different exactly, because you know we're a community of individuals. We've all got our own ways, you know, and it isn't for anybody to say what's right and what's wrong, you know, because I would hate to live like that, you know, where you only fit in if you do something a certain way. And I never want that to be the case. And that's why these discussions are really nice, because, you know, it's without judgment. People are like, well, you know, it's prefaced by, in my opinion, this is what I think, or this is how I do it, not you must do this. Let me just get rid of that. I almost made them a moderator rather than hide them. That would have been fun. Honestly, in my opinion, there's no right or wrong way to read tarot. It's unique experience for each person. Yeah, and it's not for anybody else to say differently. You know, if somebody picks up a tarot deck, what a wonderful journey they're about to embark on. And how awful would that journey be if somebody said you're doing it wrong, you know, particularly if it's helpful to them with their life and their journey in life. Yes, we're all different. So I think I've covered everything I wanted to talk about. So this was on the back of me seeing Kim's video from Abundant Life Tarot. And she was responding to Owl Moon 513, whose video I haven't seen, which was psychic abilities. You know, are you born with them? Can you learn them? Can you develop them? Is intuition the same as being psychic? Can tarot cards be read purely intuitively or purely psychically, on the other hand? And then could you end up with two different meanings for cards if that was the case? And does tarot lend itself to having those two different things? So thank you for everybody's MA says, as long as the reading is ethical, I know people who have had a reader tell them they have a demon or bad forces. Yes, and if you pay me X amount of money, I can get rid of those demons for you. Ooh, get up, walk away. Don't give them the time of day because, yeah, there's ickiness there. I find early morning readings for myself before I'm totally awake are all the interesting ones here before you're awake. So, that's the chat we were going to have. The tarot deck, I thought we could have a look at, and I don't know if many people have seen this, but this is the Gregory Scott Tarot, which I picked up. It's still unopened. It was $19.99 from Curious Goods in Chesterfield on my visit there on Thursday. And I've been on a bit of a journey with this tarot because Gregory Scott lives in Glastonbury. And when I went to Glastonbury, not last year, the year before now, so 2020, with Sandra and Elle, the deck was released while we were there. And I thought to myself, oh, it's bound to be in a shop in Glastonbury if he's from Glastonbury. And it wasn't. And yes, saw that deck. And I was a bit disappointed that I couldn't have a look at them all. Because like, as I mentioned with the walkthrough I did yesterday of the Showery and Black Rose deck, you know, they're out on the shelves in lots of shops in Glastonbury and you get to thumb through them and stuff. But this wasn't. But it might have been because it was quite new. But when I went back this year, there still wasn't any. And I was kind of umming and ahhing about it. And then it was just there on the shelf in the shop. And I picked it up and I thought, do you know what? I'm going to give it a go. Because I remember seeing it 18 months ago. And from what I saw, I quite liked. I remember the images are very colourful and crisp, which I quite like. Oh, yeah, I wanted to see that when you showed one of your recent buys. Yeah, it was just a couple of days ago when I showed the art through the Starseed Oracle by Showery and Black Rose. I bought it with this deck. So let's open it up. I like it when they have these little easy to open cellophane bits. And if people have been coming in as well while I was in the middle of that chat and I didn't get to say hello to you, I do apologise. So hello everybody who's here. So Gregory Scott Tarot, the Tarot of Positive Clarity. And I like that because the images are, as I said, quite clear, clean, crisp, nice and colourful. It is in a tuck box. It's not even one of those tuck boxes that drop down on the back. So it's by Lo Scarabeo. The artwork is by David Corsi. I'm not familiar with David's work. Thanks for the pull tab. Is there one on the inside as well? Because yes, there is. They're sealed on the inside as well. It's lovely having all this space on a desk. Only till tomorrow though. Okay, so you get the little book, the little white book, the LWB. I have to go. Bye, Ange. What is behind a deck? Let's see if it's got something about this, though. I don't just want a... yeah, it's got a little bit here. So the deck has been devised and designed by tarot expert, reader, and YouTuber Gregory Scott with artwork by David Corsi. Gregory wanted to create a deck that could relate with the 1,000 different facets of tarot he faces every day during his practice and his videos. A tarot deck that could be constantly relatable, that could be immediate without losing depth, powerful without being aggressive, empowering without being condescending, In many ways, Gregory looked to create a deck that was real, for real people, for real questions and real answers. So there we have it. It's got a bit about reversals. You just get a couple of lines for each. I'm not even sure if that's showing, but a couple of lines for each of the card meanings. Is it in, it's in, looks like it's in perhaps Spanish. So yeah, it's in a few languages anyway. So it's only a very small little white book. We get a title card. I can't, oh, thank God for that. I turned the back and I saw that on the back. I thought, please don't tell me that's the backs, but it isn't. It's just one of those Los Scarabeo advertisement cards. Hi, Laurie. Again, because I'm going to be showing cards, I won't necessarily be looking at the chat. So if you want to catch my attention, do tag me or use capitals. These are the backs, which are lovely. Oh, they've got these Odafocart type runes. Really nice. They are borderless. And then you've got this kind of little black panel at the bottom that has the number and then the title. I can't do the size. Oh, yes, I can, because I can see where I've left my card. That wasn't too difficult. Los Scarabeo are normally a little bit smaller than US games, and it is the case here as well. So they're a little bit smaller and narrower than a US games style card, which is fine because lots of people like smaller ones. So let's have a look. So quite a traditional RWS Fool. I'm assuming this is yeah, it's a fully illustrated following the RWS system. Look at that little dog. Interesting that the white flower is actually coming out of the ground and is about to step on the thorns of the red flower. But it is a nice, clear image. Magician is beautiful. Look at the flowers at the bottom there. Is this a levitating magician? All the little cherubs around him. He's got his tools. The High Priestess with the towers. Boaz and Jakim. The Empress. Look at them all in the background, kind of whispering about it. There's lots of symbols in this deck as well, like on the bodice there. I'm not sure if they're showing up, but lots of symbols. I have man hands. I like bigger decks, mostly because I don't have great vision. Yeah, I prefer bigger decks, but I mean, these aren't mini, you know, they're just a little bit smaller. He is a powerful emperor. Look at that. It's got all plans on his wall and lots rolled up of his empire that he's building. Oh, this is very... that's interesting. Look at the pillars in the background. It's very Freemasony with the handshake or the Mormon temple. Our lovers. It seems of a particular time. These remind me of like the Ladybird books that I read when I was a kid. You know, sort of like in a land far, far away lived a beautiful princess and a handsome prince, kind of almost fairy tale type images. Powerful Chariot card. It's two lions, a black and a white lion. Got the water symbol there. Does that say 444? Hey, 444. Can you see that on the almost like the shield type thing? It's got 444 on there. Is our Becca here? 444 Becca. Strength is interesting. Yes, I like the Chariot too. Oh, this is an interesting hermit. Look at the inner light radiating out. Oh, the wheel brings back memories. At my parents' house, in their hallway, they've got a picture of the second coming from their church days. And it's got Christ in the middle. And on one side, there's people down on their knees rejoicing. And on the other side, in shadow, is all these people on fire. And it's very disturbing. It's supposed to be a piece of beautiful art. But this kind of reminds me of that. Oh, look at the justice. That reminds me of, what's that saying about resentment or anger is like drinking the poison and expecting the other person to die. He's drank the poison. Waxworks. The Hanged Man. Wow, this card. There's some etchings on the stones, but this card for the Death card is beautiful. I love this as the Death card. I've never seen this before because I don't think I've seen a full walkthrough of this deck. But look at that. So simple, so beautiful. Just this beautiful meadow, but it's a gateway, look, through the trees. It's a journey. There's something inscribed onto that stone, which looks like a sigil of some sort, or a hieroglyph. But that is beautiful. I love that. And there are lots of runes and things in this. The Devil card is powerful as well. I have seen this card before. This is one that I've seen. That's a great Death card. Yeah, I agree. The Tower. Sandra, I might need to add this to my wish list. Sheila says she needs to work with the Death some more. The Star. Beautiful colours. Gorgeous colours. I like the nautical theme. Look at the moon. The moon is wonderful as well. The sun. Beautiful sunflowers. Oh, this is interesting for Judgment. It uses the angel from the RWS. And we have, put two up there, we have the World card. Interesting that we've got a male figure as the central figure in the World card. Again, we've got each of these suits represented there with a wand and the sword, cup and pentacle. Ace of Cups. I'll go a bit quicker because it's 8:10 already. Two of Cups. Again, it would have been nice. I mean, it's kind of young, beautiful lovers, heterosexual couple. I was going to say, actually, there's not a lot of diversity, but we have got some diversity, although quite minimal. Five of Cups, look at this. Not sure about the Two of Cups. Is Christoph here? Someone saying hello to Christoph. Is that Christoph James? Is that who's here? Yes, hello, Christoph. Nice to see you. Our nostalgia card. Wow, look at the Eight of Cups. Nine. Ten of Cups. That kind of reminds me of Angels in America. The opening sequence. Page of Cups. That's interesting with the flower petals falling. There's no little fish jumping out. I always look at the Page of Cups with it being my significator card. Love this guy's body art. Ah, it's the Little Mermaid. It is 2022. Can we please have more diversity of all kinds? Exactly. Exactly. I mean, this is only 18 months old. This is a 2020 deck, but still. Two of Pentacles. I like that take. I like that we've got the 11 of Skate at the bottom, but it's still doing the juggling. Three of Pentacles. Four is interesting, isn't it? How he's clawing through that desk. Can we have one fat person? Yeah, and that's kind of what I was alluding to on the Two of Cups when I said about, you know, slim, pretty, beautiful people. The art is stunning, though. Who? David Horsey. Ten of Pentacles is the family being painted with the dog. Oh, interesting for the Knight of Pentacles. Look at that with that demon. What an image. Beautiful queen with her cornucopia of fruits and flowers. The king. We have our one suit. Interesting Three of Wands. Four of Wands. Again, it's very sort of Disney princess-ish. Girl meets boy. It is certainly lacking representation in all forms, really. Eight of Wands. Hey, Shauna. Knight. Oh, we've got a performing queen. People giving her applause. And the king. Oh. And then we have our swords. Oh, that looks a bit... Yeah, there's lots of rune images. I don't know if you can see it just under her hands. Might not be right with the light. You can just see there's lots of rune markings throughout the deck. Oh, is this the pit and the pendulum? I think it is. This is a bit bizarre. He's having blood poured onto his head, or the six. What do you think to this deck? I think the artwork is really nice. It reminds me of childhood Ladybird story tale books. It is very sort of, as I said, in a land far, far away. I think some of the images are really interesting. I mean, this, for example, is very close to RWS. It's what we call the nightmare card, you know. But they have Gregory Scott and David have taken artistic license and gone on its own journey with it as well. I mean, the Ten of Swords there, look through the mirror. So there are different interpretations. It is lacking representation big time. In fact, now I've come to the end of the deck. I haven't seen one large person. I haven't seen anybody with grey hair. I think I saw one person of colour, which I'm now trying to find, which is really tokenistic. The Three of Cups. Everybody is body beautiful, able-bodied. So it lets itself down in that way. Yeah. But then there's some really great and powerful images that just bring a different sort of energy to the cards. But, you know, just having a very small little white book with a sentence at best for each card doesn't give me a lot. And, you know, to know what Gregory Scott's kind of vision was, because there isn't anything other than a few tiny pages with basic meanings. So if he's used an artist to do it, then I would like to be able to find out somewhere why he chose what he chose for depict him. Nine does not have a snail either. What's that? Hey, Simon. Hi, Star. Simon, the Queen of Coins have people hung up by the neck behind her. It's one of the main reasons I sold this deck. The Queen of Coins, I've started shuffling now. See if I can find it. You see, if that's the case as well, I'd want to be able to pick up a book and find why the Queen of Coins has people hung by the neck behind her. It's going to be the last card, isn't it? I can't find it. I've gone all the way through. I'll probably pull it now as the card pull. But let's put it this way, if this deck had been on the shelf in the shop and was an open copy and I'd looked through it, would I have bought it? Probably not. For the reasons why I mentioned, but I have bought it. I just don't know how often I will use it, but I can appreciate the artwork. I mean, the artist is clearly talented. It's just, I just feel that, you know, we expect more now. We expect more now from our creators. Nice to see you in a Cuppa, Simon. Nice to be here, Laurie. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Helps us to make a decision. Exactly. And for 20 quid, you know, it's not like it's broken the bank, but okay. Anyway, a message for us to think about. Nope. Oh, we have the Six of Swords. We didn't get the Queen of Pentacles. Was it the Queen of Pentacles you was looking for? Six of Swords. Look at these images. These are scary monsters. Now, the Six of Swords, for me, represents either, or sometimes both, a mental and or physical journey. Okay. With the card being depicted in the way it is, this is what we were talking about earlier now, putting some intuition on top by looking at the images. For me, this is more of about a mental journey that needs to be undertaken. And there's lots of demons here. There's lots of things that are holding us back and keeping us from moving forward. The key when we're talking about the Six of Swords is not to look back, not to focus on the past. Keep moving forward. Things are going to get better, but it's more about if we don't focus on the past, then our outlook will become more positive as well, because this that's going on around us, you know, you can actually see here physically holding on and pulling back, dragging you back to the place that isn't conducive for your well-being. You know, that place where the demons are might still be here. And, you know, we often hear, well, you can change the environment, but you can't change yourself. But actually, you need to go on the journey with the mind too, as well. Because once we are not focusing on the things that's happened, we start with that new way of thinking, you know, because we're starting to feel a little bit more positive about life. So that new way of thinking comes in. And even when we change our physical environment, a change is as good as a rest. You know, we can start. Sometimes when we do something physically, it's the step that we've taken that then makes us rethink about things as well. But it's important to do both. You know, it's really important that we leave the past behind, that we go on that mental journey as well, and really focus on what it is we're aiming for, where we're going and why we're going there. And that's when we start to have that change of mind, more positive. We start to frame things in a more positive way. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for coming along to Cuppa Catch Up and Cards. It's lovely to be back with you. Yeah, just thank you. And thank you for all of your support over the last couple of months. I've really, well, not even saying I've appreciated it is understating it. You guys have been a absolute rock and anchor for me. So thank you for all of your messages, all of your support, your kindness. It's meant the world, and it really has helped me get through, or going through, quite a challenging time. So thank you. No doubt I'll be back in the week. Hopefully, I'm just trying to think what's coming up next weekend. Hopefully I'll be here next weekend for another Cuppa. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the weekend. Whatever you do and wherever you go, remember to stay safe, look after yourselves, and until next time, go in peace. Namaste and blessed be.